It's that time of the year, guys. Well, when I mean it's that time of the year, I actually mean we are already starting the year. 2026 has started, and you know what that means? That means we have January movies. I did decided to kind of take a break last week from movies, and it really felt good, skipping the first movie of the week and uh, just taking a rest. And now here we are, fresh and new to anticipate the good, the bad, the crazy, the disappointing, the amazing, the what the frick. And not gonna lie, the subject of today was one anticipated movie that I had ever since I saw the trailer. What was it, a month ago? And that movie is none other than Primate. And well, let's say that is Cujo, but with a chip. Review's over. Synopsis over, I mean. Okay, no. I can say a little bit more than that. But basically, you know Cujo, then you know the whole deal. Okay, here's a little bit of a refresher for the people who doesn't know. Cujo is that infamous Stephen King story that was also adapted for a movie, which basically is about a dog who gets bitten by a rabbit bat. He gets rabies, and basically he gets the infection, and you know that when rabies also makes animals be more aggressive and very deadly. And basically, the Cujo movie has that dog trapping a woman and her child inside a car in the scorching heat and all that stuff. I saw the movie, especially bits and pieces, and I do remember that this whole situation was. It's a good movie, by the way, and very chilling. I'll say. I mean, being trapped on one very minuscule place, while the wild animal is there waiting for to kill you in the moment that the moment that you are careless, then apparently there's a Cujo outside and I was barking to someone. Okay, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's the thing. That's the first thing that brought me when I saw the trailer about Primate. Of course, like I said, instead of a dog, is a chip. And since it is a January movie, I wasn't getting too much kind of like high expectation. January is like I said, it's the dumpster fire of all these movies that they pretty much studios have almost no faith, and they just drop it and saying, let's just start it. Now nobody kind of cares, so they kind of either are garbage like Night Swim or interesting stuff. That one kind of escaped me a lot. I mean, not every year it had to be like the first movie is gonna be the worst of them all. Cases like Night Swim is kind of like big exceptions. But either way, all of them have the chance to be in a level of fascination that is wildly expected, and whether it is good or bad is kind of like and it's almost like you get this box of chocolate, and the first chocolate is terrible, but at least you know what it was. You had these. You lost the surprise, but you lost this. You had the thrills. You might not like it, but at least you know what it was. So, in the case of Primate, what does it stand? Well, let's say that it's one of the better ones. I must admit, I will say that I fairly like it. And this is me praising seemingly the director who made the that last awful Resident Evil movie called Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City. One of the Resident Evil movies that I haven't seen. What's the name? Johannes Roberts. Let me see what else he has done on the IMDb. You can see. He made the Suicide Bid for VHS 99. The 47 Meters Down movies, in which the two of them I saw both of them. I will say that they were kind of a little bit of underwhelming, dumb movies, but I wasn't kind of like in the bandwagon that I hated the 47 Meter Down movies. I heard there was a third one. I don't remember. Honestly, I don't remember. Let's say that this is a guy that is mostly in the mediocre or fairly decent way of the road of directing. But for Primate, I gotta admit that it is probably one of his better films, which kind of proves that while it's not kind of like the big standout, doesn't try to be like the best movie ever, as long as you do something decent, even with some flaws and everything, I think you can get a fairly enjoyable movie. And that also depends on what kind of mood or what kind of movie you go through. And boy, that I had it. So like it started. It's obvious that, like I said, the movie is of course Cujo with a chimp. But by going in details, it's about this college girl who she goes back to her home where her little sister lives, although she's now kind of like a young adult. And also she has a deaf-mute father. And believe it or not, that deaf-mute father is played by, let me see the name of the guy. He played by Trump Kotzer, I think it was called. Let me see. Yes, he played by Troy Kotzer. And just in case, Troy Kotzer, he is a real deaf-mute actor. He actually years ago won the Oscar for the supporting role for Coda, which is nice. And this is, I haven't seen that movie, but this is basically my first time being exposed to his acting. And well, let's say that the father he's kind of like a writer. Like I said, that sister, that college graduate named Lucy, they even call her Lucy Lou. She goes back to her home in Hawaii. Additionally, she also brings some friends and someone else who just snuck in also. They want to get some good time. They even might invite some party guys that they find in the plane. Oh, and also, out of the blue, the father actually has a pet chimpanzee. A pet chimpanzee named Ben. Oh, and you know the risk of when you have someone who has exotic pets, animals that are not normally considered pets. It's better off that they're better off in the wild. So yeah, they have Ben. Is a trained chimpanzee. He's slightly smart, friendly. That is until the father finds out that apparently he was bitten by a mongoose. He finds the mongoose corpse dead on the cage. It doesn't know where how many days had been, but of course the father goes to this press conference, but at the same time on the way he brings the mongoose to be researched, because when animals are when you're bitten, usually animals from the wild, they have rabies. But of course, the father leaves, and the girls go partying with one dude, of course. And then, of course, this is where all hell breaks loose when the rabies symptoms of aggressiveness uh, uh, it it infects the monk, the ape, the chimpanzee. I don't know. Even though I know that it's just a chimpanzee and an ape, for some reason I can't help to call it a monkey. Maybe because calling it monkey is more funnier. But the thing is that, well, the chimp yeah, kills off the guy who was supposed to give him the rabies shot, escapes from the cage, and then all hell breaks loose. And this movie kind of turns into the Cujo slash slasher film of the year with the ape showing not only his aggressiveness but also his strength. Because here it is. Here's one fun fact about you, Pete, that you probably might not know. Is that it might not look like it, but chimpanzees are strong. They are really, really strong. I heard that they can lift almost twice their size of their body. So yeah, you can tell that why it is kind of like a threat for the whole thing. I'm gonna try to keep it a little bit short between the acting and the characters, because the thing is that there's not much to talk about the actors and characters themselves, because all of them, well, there are probably some actors that I might not know. The only actor that I knew and kind of actually recognized is the father, who again he's the award-winning award actor from Coda. This one actually, for the moments that he's in, I can understand his chemistry. I think he knew that he wasn't gonna be he was in a January movie, but still did his best. The other actors, well, they do fine with their job. It's pretty much a by the book kind of movie. I've been hearing, I watch other reviews of other people, and they always kind of begin to say that, well, it's basically a movie full of tropes here and there. I want to try to avoid saying that it's tropes and all this stuff, because I don't think that being by tropes or being by the book is necessarily a bad thing. If you make a decent movie that is at least watchable, then I am at least personally good enough. I'm just sufficient. It's because sometimes it's good to not show that there is too much ambition, but take it more kind of like a learning curve. This is mostly my tip for the director if he's hearing that. So in the case of character, yeah, most of the motivation and emotions is kind of shallow, I'll say. Mostly it's kind of like this story in which the big sister comes, and the little sister she's like, why are you abandoning us, and why you had to graduate, and it took forever for you to come and see me. Although it's not that annoying, by the way, thankfully, but it was kind of like brushed in, and most of those kind of subplots that are there are not exactly kind of like explore. For example, there was kind of like this, what was it, jealousy kind of thing that that doesn't go too much. There's kind of like this friendship bracelet, friendship between the Lucy character and her bestie that is just kind of like just there. There's also the father who has the press conference, even though he's supposed to stay with the girls. Even also that's just there. So everything is just brushed off, but at least it leaves a little bit more room for, well, the main gist, which is of course Ben the chimpanzee, which is played by an actor wearing a chimpanzee suit. But yeah, by the way, no, it's not Andy Serkis, just in case. but I'll give this credit, is that the guy did a good job acting, like the ape. Their motions, how it moves the hand, how aggressive it is. And the best thing that I can say is that you can tell that it has some practical effects on it. You can the mask is, of course, it's an animatronics, because, well, it's gonna be tricky, or in this case very dangerous, to use a real life chimpanzees for these scenes. I'm pretty sure that at this point now it's illegal to do it, considering that they're dangerous. I mean, yeah, it's dangerous. We all remember that there was a horrible incident with that woman who had a chimpanzee as a pet, and then somehow he attacked her and killed her. Yeah, we all remember that. I think that was kind of like the inspiration for this movie. And, well, yeah, it does have her, with the aggressiveness and the strength of what a chimpanzee can do. Although there's some moment that is a little bit exaggerated on its strength, its cleverness, the way it acts, and of course the erratic behavior of the rabies. And, well, and of course that it got me a little bit interested, of course, on the theme of rabies. For example, I began to go look for Google to refresh me some of the elements about what are rabies, what happened, and all this stuff. For example, it's typical that rabies the victim gets hydrophobia, and that is because rabies is a virus that it affects the nervous system, and the nervous system it prominently affects that when they drink water, it leaves them with pain. So it traumatizes them to the point that everything hurts. So they begin salivating, and this is what even the movie captured. Captured that even though the characters are a little bit dumb and they can notice that he's drooling, that is drooling. And yeah, I will say that there's some dumb moments, but still it kind of helps out with the whole thing. I'll jump out by saying that, yeah, it has some. There are also some moments with CGI, but thankfully, some of the visual mishaps, they're easily hidden, because the movie can get a little bit dark in ambience. Not enough to be unwatchable, because there were some shots that were really good in showcasing the threat that this chimp has. When he's standing there looking at them, this is where the thrill it works. It becomes, even though you know that how the movie goes, because the movie is semi predictable. You still want to see how it goes on, how they're gonna do that, and the moment that works, it works. I will say that maybe the pacing can drag a little bit too much. I heard a lot of people complain about the middle part of the movie, and that is mostly because in order to escape and being safe from the ape, their only safe haven is by the swimming pool. They jump to the pool, and because one, not only the chimpanzee has rabies and with hydrophobia. There's also the fact that chimpanzees can't swim. He even says it. Fun fact, I even double checked that. That is true. Chimpanzees can't swim. They can bathe on shallow water, but they can't swim. And there's a good reason. The good reason is because chimpanzees had a lot of muscle. The muscles are heavy enough that it doesn't allow them to swim properly, so they sink. This is why this is the reason they can't go when if they fall they drown. So yeah, chimpanzees can't swim as normally as it is. I'm not entirely sure if they can be trained for that because I mean we as human beings we also can't swim. I gotta double check more on that science, but as far from my investigation of zoology, yeah, chimpanzees can't swim. But the point is that a lot of people complain that this is where the movie kind of drags to the point that it kind of gets boring. But honestly, I disagree. I disagree because the movie actually has some enough moments of things happening that yeah, they're trapped there, but where else do they go? I mean, it's basically the same again with Cujo. Cujo, even though it also has kind of like the same thing. Most of the Cujo movie is about people stuck on the car, and then events happen. Even though most of the events that happen, to be fair, most of the events on Cujo is a little bit more adrenaline pumping. This one, the adrenaline pumps when they finally get out of the pool and they try to do something. Like, for example, getting a raft to tend one of the injured, or trying to get to inside the house because they have a phone charging there. So yeah, so that also brings. Oh my god! And the more I think about the movie, sometimes I get problems with it because we know that the chimpanzee is strong, but still, girls, you are in a house, and none of them they have kind of like the bright idea or the opportunity in their head to grab a weapon, at least something. There were bottles of wine almost everywhere, and they can't grab one, or instead of going to the phone, I think the first priority is going to the kitchen and at least grab a kitchen knife in order to defend yourself. I mean, it may be a chimp, but I was gonna say that the chimp is not Terminator, but there are some moments with the chimp kinda is like the Terminator. But you know what? Slasher powers also gives these kind of animals probably the power of Jason Voorhees. I mean, even Cujo was like that. So yeah, that's one thing that I'll say about this. But here's also one of the things that I will praise about this movie, because one of the big things about this movie that might gonna shock a lot of people is that it does earn its R-rated. In this movie, the movie's kills are visceral. Let's say that it kind of involves people falling off cliffs and seeing how their neck turns into an accordion. To also seeing kind of like the worst jawbreakers scenes ever, made by, of course, a chimpanzee. And those death scenes are brutal, or sometimes even comical. Some of the comical but also brutal ones, I will say that it involved one of two drunk guys who they decide to get into the house to become new victims. And there's also a little one that is unintentionally hilarious, which involves some car keys. And that I will leave it without spoiling too much. But the funny thing is that, yeah, for someone who has rabies, not only is just strong, but they also kind of showcase that it's kind of clever. And there's nothing more dangerous than I can't say it's a psychopath because, well, it's just an ape, it's just a chimpanzee infected by the rabies virus. So yeah, well, let's say that it has some exaggerated things about it, but man, that those those violent effects are really whoa. This it's so if you have problems with jawbreaking, well, which it's gonna have some of those. Uh, this is my warning. This is gonna be kind of like my warning, and it got this R rated. You know, and trust me, some of the audience who was actually paying attention to the film, and there was a little bit of a quiet packed house at least in my theater. They were shocked, especially with the death scenes. And of course, there's kind of like the. I will say that there is one part that actually got me unintentionally laughing, which I'll say, in which is basically that that they do a lot of dumb mistakes, that they always step on something and then something makes a lot of noise. Well, one of them is that it involves the turning on the TV with and Dora the Explorer. Dora the Explorer is there with the monkey there, and of course, apparently Ben the chimpanzee, he hates Dora the Explorer so much that he just breaks the television. That part I would say that is kind of like my most unintentional in life. It's like because he was like, screw Dora the Explorer. Yeah, oh man. So, well, I think I talk enough about no, primate. Private Primate. Someone please make a movie called Private Primate. This is gonna be kind of like the next Dunstan checks in. So, my thoughts. It is a flawed movie. Yeah, it's nothing special with a January movie, but it wasn't a miserable experience. I'll say that it was fairly entertaining, and if you know what you're gonna get and you are satisfied with what you're gonna get, this was the movie that got me. So I am quite content and very grateful on watching Primate, and I just hoping that. And by the way, yeah, I got a lot of trailers, and I think that for horror, some of them do seem kind of promising. I think there was this AI film that kind of looked so dumb, but that got mesmerized about practically. I think it was a guy who only has 2 days to prove his innocence from a crime. And this movie called Passengers that kind of looked like a Jordan Peele kind of movie, and that one was great. That was a great trailer. Oh yeah, speaking of which, it's funny that I've been also hearing reviews that was probably the prequel of that useless moment of that the Jordan Peele movie. What was the movie? Oh yeah, Nope. I remember that. What was the point of that chimpanzee scene on that movie? But anyway, Primate, decent film. It did its monkey business, so I'm pretty satisfied. Speaking of monkey, hey Dennis Hopper, hit it.
Monkey!